Welcome to the Mental Toughness podcast. Of course, this is Matt Phillips, founder of Pro Athlete Advantage, and I am so excited today to introduce you to Daniel Winkler. Daniel is a right-handed pitcher with the Atlanta Braves and has an absolutely amazing story to share with you today. I was fortunate to meet Daniel a few months ago, actually via LinkedIn, and we had numerous conversations over the past few months around mental toughness because we just bonded over the topic. It's something he's been passionate about for a long time. And I also had the opportunity to work with him one-on-one as we talked a lot about his routines and mantras and making sure he was mentally prepared for pitching. So such an honor to work with such a passionate individual on a one-on-one basis. But it was so fun for me because I heard more in this interview about his story that I didn't know, I didn't realize. So I even learned a tremendous amount about dealing with adversity and what he's been through to make it to the major leagues. And there's one thing that you're going to find that really sticks out about how when he broke his arm and has had multiple surgeries, it's pretty incredible that he endured and persevered and now pitches at the highest level possible in the game of baseball. So you'll learn a lot from Daniel. I know that I did. We talked about everything from how he dealt with that adversity, right? How he engages his mindset, what he says to him, his self-talk on the mound, his routines before games, his definition of mental toughness. You are going to enjoy this one. So sit back, relax, get out your pens and paper, get ready to take some notes, and let me introduce you to the one and only from the Atlanta Braves, Daniel Winkler. Well, hey, Daniel, thank you for taking your time this morning. I'm excited to have you on the podcast.
Thanks for having me, Matt. I'm really excited to be here, actually.
Yeah, I'm pretty honored because, you and I get to connect quite often, and always fun to talk to you. And, for a little background for the people listening is you and I actually hooked up first on LinkedIn.
Yeah, we did.
And I remember, our first conversation, I think you were on a drive from Nashville to Atlanta. And so we caught up on the phone and we're just catching up, talking all things mental toughness, because that was our initial connection of, two people passionate about the mental side of baseball and the game. And it's just awesome that our kind of relationship has grown to this point now. So always enjoy talking to you. For those listeners today, we were talking a little bit, but where are you taking this call from today?
I'm in Philadelphia, Pennsylvania, on our second leg of a three city road trip. So it's just been going to be a long 11 days here.
The road warriors, the tough part about Major League Baseball, right?
Yeah, like you said earlier, I don't know if there's a tough part about it, but
right.
this is maybe the toughest.
That's true, and I know you've got obviously you're married and you have a little son who's now probably 6 months old now, 5.5 months old.
Yep, 6 months sitting on his own.
That is wild.
Yeah,
and it was fun because obviously seeing you here in Denver when you came through to play the Colorado Rockies a couple of weeks back, got to meet your family and all that, and just awesome that they have that flexibility to come with you on some of the road trips. Obviously, not all.
Absolutely.
But that's a ton of fun.
Yeah, it makes it easier.
Absolutely. There's so much to unpack in our time together. And again, I still recall our initial conversation all on the mental side, and where I thought I'd start a little bit before we dig into kind of your major league career and kind of how you got to this point is when you hear mental toughness, what comes to mind? What do you think of when somebody's mentally tough or groups are mentally tough? What pops in your head?
A couple of things, confidence is one. No matter what happens in your life, no matter what goes on, that confidence in yourself, that belief in yourself never varies. So that's one thing that I think that mental toughness is big on, and
it's so key, right? Because especially in the position you're in, you're a relief pitcher in the major leagues, and the fact that you have to come in a lot in difficult situations is, do you believe in yourself or not? Do you believe you're going to get that hitter out or not? Do you
Yep.
believe you have your best stuff that night or not?
Exactly. Exactly.
And then how do you on the fly kind of make those adjustments and all that?
Yep. Exactly. And I think, um, there are other things to mental toughness, like we've talked about. I think that for me personally, making the game simple, and not overthinking things, attacking the glove, and playing for your teammates and not playing for outside secular things, and just playing to win the game and having fun. Those are other sides of mental toughness, but I've always found, for me personally, and we've talked about this, when I struggle, it's when my self-confidence is low, and I'm worried about other things that I can't control. So I think it all boils down to, um, do I believe in myself, and do I believe that I'm better than the hitter at that time? So for me personally, that's what mental toughness boils down to.
Yeah, I think that's so key because one thing I want to dig into with you is, how do we continue to boost this self-confidence, and what sorts of things are you doing on a daily basis, pre-game, post-game, in-game, right, to get yourself to a level where you walk out on the mound and it's like, okay, I'm ready. I have that confidence. I've worked through whatever I need to.
Yeah, I mean, that's one thing that's really hard, I think, to keep that self-confidence going.
That's so true. And so let's talk a little bit about, kind of your pregame routine, because, again, if, for those of you listening, I've been fortunate to work one-on-one with Daniel for a little while now. And, one thing you mentioned right before we got on the call, Daniel, which I think is key, is, a lot of people out there, whether in the business world or athletics, are really hesitant when it comes to coaching, right? And we have that baseball connection in common, where I'm used to having a coach, right? And it's all technical training, physical training from a baseball perspective. But when people think of, like, if their confidence is down, if they can't stay focused, if their emotions are out of control, whatever it is, we hesitate to like reach out and ask for help.
Yeah.
What are kind of your thoughts around that? Because again, you have I think a special perspective on it.
Yeah, I mean, I feel like, I need help. I can't do anything on my own, and everything on my own. So I'm not afraid to say that I have weaknesses. And I feel like the people that shy away from that, or say, "Hey, I'm self-confident," or put off false confidence, is the worst thing that you can do. I was not in a good place in spring training, and I needed help, and I couldn't do it on my own. So I mean, I reached out to you, and I feel like that helped me. Because I knew that I needed to go somewhere else that I wasn't at that point. So I needed to reach out to somebody to help me out. And I feel like um, weakness isn't um, failure, if you want to say that.
Yes.
Weakness can actually make us go to the next level, and propel us on and on. I always think of my journey. I've never really been the best pitcher. I've never been like the ace. There's always been somebody better than me, and I think that's something that's driven me to to the major leagues. I've always had to prove myself that I was better than somebody, and I always had to work harder. And I always had to reach out to somebody to make me better. Um, you know, I'm I like to compare it to my faith, and I know one thing for me, I'm a Christian, so um, I always think that I have to read the Bible to learn more about Jesus. I can't do it all on my own, and I think of uh, Christ died for us, so I can't get to heaven on my own. So that's one thing. I can't get to the major leagues. I can't. Um, I have weaknesses that I need help with before I start rambling too much.
Yeah. Well, no, and I think it's so important though, because, I tell people all the time, like, I'm a coach, right? But I have a coach,
Yeah,
and
exactly.
my coach has a coach. And
Exactly.
it's that whole thing of, you're exactly right. We can't do it on our own. And I have the same mentality as you. If I look at coaching as an absolute uh, key to my arsenal, right? It's one of my key weapons,
Yep.
which makes me better. It makes me stronger, faster, smarter, more strategic. I mean, depending on what you're getting help with, right? Better recovered. Um, so I can perform my best. And that I think is so key. And I appreciate you talking about that, because I know you're such a, humble individual, and the fact that you could sit there and say, you play at a high level, you're one of the best out there. And yet you sit there and say, well, but I didn't get here alone, and I can't
Just
continue to get here alone, and continue alone.
absolutely.
Yeah. You know, it's funny. I always think about baseball. You and I've talked about this before, but everyone says in sports, the mental side's the most important. And yet
Yep.
I find that's the biggest gap of training in all of sports, is that
100.
people don't really understand what that means and how to train it on a daily basis, and implement it consistently and all that. Is that something that, as you look back at your kind of high school, collegiate, professional career, I know you've always been passionate about the mental side, but is that something you've noticed as well, that you've had to work on and kind of grow over time?
Yeah, I mean, just like I've developed um, my pitches, cutter, sliders, things like that. I've had to develop my mental side, and it didn't come overnight. Um, and I tell people this all the time. I'm at a level where physically everybody's very, very similar.
Yes.
But mentally, it is like you said. There's such a gap between guys. And I feel like when I struggle, it is not very often is it physical. You and I have talked about some books and that we've both read, and I
Yes.
remember I was watching a video on Greg Maddox, and he says that he was reading one of his books, so that's kind of he said in this book that his physical signs, or his mechanics, or if he was struggling with something like that, always tended to stem from mental weakness. So for me over time, I've had to develop that, and that's something that's always stuck with me since I watched that video when I was in college, in junior college, when I was really struggling. So that was the time when I was like, okay, I got to develop this mental side. And I'm such a better, um, more prepared mentally now than I was then. But like you said, it's come over time, and I've learned things, and I'm still learning things, and that's kind of where I need to come and seek help and just grow from that.
Absolutely. And it's interesting when you think about it, because I think back to my baseball career, and when I'm struggling, it was all mental from a struggle perspective, but then you start switching the way you swing or throw or field to try to compensate for nothing you're doing physically or technically wrong, but it's just this
Hmm.
like concern of like, don't want to screw up, don't want to screw up again, and or whatever that self-talk is that is throwing you down that path. And now you get into
Exactly.
physical bad habits too, so it
Yep.
cascades. One thing I think fascinating is about your story, just your path to the major leagues, before we dive into some of the routine stuff you do to prepare to build that confidence. You've had an interesting path to
Hmm.
this point, and you've had a bit of adversity along the way. Do you mind kind of sharing the adversity you faced in kind of the minors and majors, which kind of led you to this
So,
point?
when I was in the minor leagues, I was a 20th rounder first, and out of UCF, and I was a starter and pitched pretty well in the minor leagues. Um, uh, when I was 2014, I was in Tulsa, Oklahoma. I was throwing the ball really well. I was with the Colorado Rockies. I was probably a starter two from getting called up to the major leagues,
Wow.
um, just because. at that point, I think the Rockies used 15 starting pitchers that year, but I was very close. And one game I was actually 4 into the 5th inning of a no-hitter, and I tore my UCL. So I needed Tommy John. So 2 weeks later, I shut down for the year. Went to Dr. Andrews, got Tommy John surgery, was out for the year. And then that off season, I was Rule 5 to the Braves. So basically, I was traded. There's a lot more. I don't know. There's a lot of business sides that go into the Rule 5 draft that I don't think we have time to explain. But so I came over to the Braves. I rehabbed all of 2015 till September. I made my major league debut that year through 2 innings, and then I went to the fall league, threw well there. 2016 spring training, I had to make the team basically to stay with the Braves. Ended up throwing really, really well. Made the team, and 5th game in the season, I broke my elbow. I broke a bone from the Tommy John where they attached the ligament to the bone. Basically, my ligament was so strong that it just ripped the bone off of the bone.
Wow.
So
How did explain to folks, like, how did you break your elbow during a game? Like, you threw a pitch and
yeah. So I was, I was feeling it a little bit before. I thought it was just tendonitis, and then I got into a game against the Cardinals on a Sunday, and 7th inning tie ball game. I got 2 outs in the inning before, came back out for the 8th, got 2 quick outs facing Randall Grigic, 1-1 count, cut her away, snapped my elbow. Just the ball went way over his head, and I knew immediately that I broke something. I thought I broke my arm a lot higher. I ran right off the field, right to the trainers, and then I mean, I wasn't really in that much pain. I just honestly, I just knew that it was going to be another major elbow surgery, and I kind of just had a panic attack, and I just kind of just fell on the field. And it was probably one of the lowest points of my career, just because I had worked so hard to get back to where I was, and I was finally in the major leagues, and I was pitching well, and I was one of our guys, first guys out of the bullpen, and this happened. So long story short, I went to Dr. Andrews, and got my elbow
unfortunately
fixed.
hello again.
Yeah, exactly. Got a screw in there. It's about 2 inches long, so threw a screw in there, rehabbed all of 2016, and I didn't pick up baseball till January of 2017, just because it took so long for that bone to heal. It was in a terrible location, bad blood flow. So 2017 started throwing up again, and I said, tell you what, there was nothing like that long surgery and then picking up a baseball again and just playing catch. It's like one thing that you take for granted your entire life is just being able to throw the ball, and then when it's taken away from you and then you're playing catch again, it's nothing like it. But so
that's incredible.
I was playing catch. I was feeling good. We got that bone healed. The rehab was actually a little easier than Tommy John, because once the bone healed, I was good. So June of 2017, I was back in games, and then July I went to AAA, and I was rehabbing there and throwing the ball well again. And then August 21st last year, I got called back up to the big leagues, and I kind of worked my way back into middle relief, back in the bullpen setup guy, and here we are now, just been throwing the ball well. And, the biggest thing for me is you go through all of that, and it's comes back to the mental game. And if I didn't have a good solid base of before I had those two surgeries, I don't know where I would have been. And just the fact that um, when I come back, that I'm pitching well again. Those
Right.
are some things that people kind of take for granted, because I hadn't pitched on a mound in a year and a half, and here I am throwing the ball well again. And
Wow.
that comes from, like we talk about, imagery, just imagining yourself on the mound. I
Mhm.
thought about pitching over and over and over. Like, even though I couldn't pick up a baseball, I was thinking about being on a mound. It was really hard to watch baseball in 2016, but 2017, when I came back around and I knew that I was coming back, that I knew that I would actually play baseball again. It was easier for me to watch baseball. So just watching baseball and watching people be on a mound and imagining myself on that mound again. Those were some things that really helped me excel when I came back.
Wow. And this is so key because like the mental fortitude it took to stick with it, right? Because a lot of people would have just said, "Well, it's over," right? And did you have those thoughts of like it had like here we go again and like
Um,
that's it or no or where was
I,
your head
I
at?
I never thought that I would quit, because I mean, I was on major league rehab, so it's a lot different than when in 2014 when I was on minor league rehab. So it was a lot better. I had great people around me, rehabbing me. I had the doctors were amazing. But there were often times where I was like, am I ever going to throw again? Am I ever going to be able to throw and compete like I did before?
Mm.
Those thoughts definitely arose. Because like I said, that was, like we've talked about it again, those are some things that are out of my control. I couldn't control that. And that was things that really um, tend to um, bother me, that really work me up a little bit.
Yes.
I've just not worrying about those things that aren't control, and just controlling things. That's what I had to remind myself over and over and over. And it was like, if I can't throw again, if I'm not going to be as good again, that's fine. I just want to get back and and
Yes.
and just play catch again, throw a baseball. And then once I got to that hurdle, it was okay. Well, I just want to throw on a mound again and be able to throw a bullpen. Okay, well, that went well, so let's get in game. So
Mm.
just taking things day by day and step by step, and just worrying about things that I could control, and just working as hard as I could.
Yes.
Uh, just to get back on the field. Those were some things that were great for me through that whole process.
And that's huge because you I always talk about like you chunk it, right? Or you use the word earlier, like how do you simplify things?
Yep,
Um,
exactly.
and I love your approach on that because it's step one, then step two, then step three. Like, why am I worried about step three
Yep,
when I haven't even got to step one yet? Yeah, you
yep,
can see, in your mind that's coming, right? That's the ultimate goal. But okay, first things first, right? I just got to hold a baseball in my hand. Okay, now it's done. Move on to the next thing.
yep.
I frankly cannot even find a baseball right now after such a long time off. Um, but I love that kind of chunking concept of simplifying the process and saying this is what I'm going to focus on today. And I love the concept about just control what you can control, right? And
Yep,
especially when you get into like minor and major league baseball, at the end of the day, it's a business, right?
exactly.
The the clubs are trying to make money,
Yep,
so they can pay the players and pay you and uh, build a new stadium or renovate whatever. And so it's even from your perspective coming back and being like, well, I don't know what they're going to do with me, right?
mhm, yep,
But that's out of your control, and it's focus on just that one thing right now I can do to position myself to be successful.
exactly, exactly. And it was, I mean, I'll be the first one to tell you that when I thought long term, it was overwhelming. Like you said, I had to chunk it. I had to take it and simplify it. And then when I thought about, um, when I come back and I'm not good enough. Like, what are they going to do? They're going to release me? Like, am I worth all this? What's coming? What they're giving me to rehab? So, yeah, all that you have to remind yourself over and over and over. Just worry about what you control and simplify things.
Right. Right.
So
Let's go into kind of current day.
Yeah.
And, talk a little bit about like the importance of like routines, kind of those rituals that you have. And if you don't mind, spend a minute just talking about maybe some of your pregame stuff that you do to help prepare that and make sure your confidence really at the core is where it needs to be.
Yeah, for sure. And we've talked about this, and that's one thing that wasn't very good at is staying in a routine. And just because before I was a starter and every 5 days, I only had to do my routine. Now it's 162 games. You got to keep your routine.
Yes.
So I've been really diligent about it, and it's really been very good for me. So, like if we have a 7 o'clock game, 6 o'clock is really when my routine starts, and it's not down to the minute. I'm not, if I don't do something right, or if something gets thrown off, or if I have to do an appearance, or if I have to do an interview or something, I don't freak out, because
Okay.
there are guys that are like, oh, my routine's all messed up. I don't know what I'm going to do. I'm going to pitch bad today. That's not how I feel. Like we've talked, my routine is more something to get me into just a comfort zone, and just be comfortable with where I am. So at 6 o'clock, I take a shower, and I don't know how long usually it is, but I'll take a shower, and then come in, and I'll put my clothes on, throw my headphones in, and then I'll go to the training room. And usually it's about 6:15 at that time. I'll go to the training room. I'll roll out. I'll get on a machine, get loose, with some things like that. That's usually about 10 minutes, and then I'll come back and I'll just sit down, and I usually listen to some Christian music, or just it's usually Christian.
Yeah.
But then about 6:25, I'll pull out the Bible. I'll read for about 10 minutes. Sometimes it's longer, I've found, just because I get kind of interested in what I'm reading.
Yes.
So about 6:35, I'll put the Bible away, and then I'll just kind of sit there and reflect, and go over some scouting reports. So that's about 6:40, and then 6:40. This is my road and home routines is totally different. Well, not really, but a little different. And then 6:40, I'll usually just go grab a cup of coffee and hang out with the bullpen guys, and then we'll head out at 6:45 and be ready for the game. The anthem's usually at 6:50, so we'll stand for the anthem. 6:55, we'll head down to the bullpen and be ready for the game. The only thing different is at home we have a sauna, and so I'll sauna for 10, 15, 20 minutes before, and that's usually I'll start my routine 15 minutes earlier.
Awesome.
So we don't have a sauna on the road, so things change a little bit there.
True. But I think that's the key part of like, you've got certain tasks are the wrong word, but certain things that you like to do that get you kind of in that zone and calm and and prepared. And no matter how long you spend doing it, as long as you accomplish them, like you're good to go. And like you and I've talked before, it's not rushing yourself to get there, right? So when you feel rushed, I know that throws you off a little bit.
Yep. Exactly. Yeah.
Excuse me.
Absolutely.
And I like that kind of lead up to it, that it's like grab a cup of coffee. It's not like grab a cup of coffee, sprint out to the field.
Yep.
because then your stress level's automatically raised. It's like, no, flip
Exactly.
on over, grab a cup of coffee, just stir it for a little bit, and
Yeah.
head on out.
And I think like we've talked about, it comes back to the confidence. Like I'm I have plenty of time. I'm confident. This is my routine. It just kind of builds up that confidence in a way. Just because I just feel good. I feel, like you said, not rushed and
Yes.
ready to go. This is my routine every day. I do this every day, and now let's go rock and roll.
Let's talk a little bit about kind of the self-talk side of things. Especially when you're on a mound, like facing a guy and, they get a hit or strike out and all that stuff. Could you, walk the listeners through like kind of what's that self-talk like in your head when you're out there on the mound, kind of facing these guys? What sorts of things are you kind of saying to yourself, thinking, hopefully not yelling out loud that you're better than the other player?
No,
But.
no. And I think it comes back to the confidence level and just finding something that connects with you. And we've talked about this.
Yes.
But one thing for me that really connected with me was um, that self-talk that I am an all-star. To really believe that um, I can be an all-star, that I can be one of the best relievers in the game, best pitchers in the game. But it didn't really connect with me to say I am the closer or I am the best. What connected with me was I am an all-star. Um, and that was something that I wouldn't say when I'm on the mound, or I don't really say it's like when I'm in the bullpen and doubt arises. It's like, no, 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 I'm an all-star, and that's kind of, it sounds silly, actually saying it out loud, but
Right.
in that self-talk, it is something that I really connect with, that really helps me build up that self-confidence. And then when I'm on the mound, it's just been attack the glove, or gosh, this is so much fun. Like, just being on the mound and just like kind of looking around and looking up and being like, just realizing what I like in between pitches, where I am, what I'm doing, just
Yes.
being present where I am at that moment, and not thinking about, giving up a home run or stuff like that, or it's just been like, this is amazing. And then when I step back on that mound, attack the glove. You
Mm.
know, it make the pitch, and it's just, it's not. I'm not taking the competitiveness out of it. I'm not being like, all right, this is fun, la la la. It's more like,
Right.
like I'm like, wow, this is so much fun. All right, let's get this guy out. Like
Yes.
this, he's got no shot. Just little self-talk like
Mhm.
that has been really, really, really good for me.
Well, like you said, we've talked about this before, but when you have this appreciation for where you're at, call it the attitude, gratitude, whatever you want to call it, right? But just being
Yeah,
appreciative of where you're at. I mean, you and I've talked about the science before that, when you say you're thankful or think you're thankful for something,
yeah,
and actually roll it through in your head or say it out loud, I mean, you're physiologically lowering your stress level. Your cortisol starts to decrease, right? Um, so it kind of calms your body, and then at the same time, your adrenaline's going up because, I mean, my goodness, like how many people are given the opportunity you have, right?
yeah,
To be
exactly.
in that moment, and then you having that gratitude, and then going that next step and being like, but I'm here to compete too, and this is going to be fun. So let's see if you can hit what I'm about to throw to you, because I don't think you can, and
Yep,
here we go.
yep. And
And
that's
maybe they
that's
do, and then tip your cap to them.
exactly, and that's kind of how it's been lately, and it's
Yeah.
been really good. And you know, like I said, it's I'm not worrying about things that are out of my control. I'm just making a pitch. That's all I'm
Yes.
doing.
If you could go back, would you, I mean, erase all the injuries and
No, never. Uh-uh. I mean, even if it didn't work out, even if I wasn't where I am today, sitting in this area, no, I wouldn't take them back, because first off, that's God's plan for me. His plan is always better than mine, and something I truly believe, and I know, I truly know.
Yes.
Um, but I've also grown as a person, mentally,
Mhm.
and faithfully.
Mhm.
And those are some things that I never ever take back. Those lessons, and honestly, man, like my wife and I, we got 3 years of, yeah, rehabbing sucked, but I wasn't on the road for 11 days. I was coming home every day at 2 o'clock in the afternoon, and we got to go to the pool and spend time together. And that's some things that, um, for an early marriage, that was amazing. I
Yes.
mean, but so no, I'll never take it back.
Yeah. That's such a that's such a great perspective.
Yeah,
Um, yeah, talk about looking at the good, and choosing to look at the good,
yeah,
even in a tough situation, right?
absolutely. And
That
it was pretty good, honestly, if you take out the bad.
right. Yeah, keep my healthy elbow and arm, and
Yeah,
then send me to the pool. That'd be great.
yeah, exactly.
That's pretty wild. Um, how has I know you're 6 months into it now, but how has being a father kind of changed things for you?
Changed my life. I mean, I never thought I would feel about my kids like I actually do, until you have a kid. And I was talking to Dansby Swanson, our shortstop, about it yesterday, and
Hmm.
just like there is nothing that can prepare you for that love that you feel for your kids.
Hmm.
And that's helped things put things in perspective for me. Where I am, what I'm doing, just playing a game for living.
Yes.
uh, those are some things that you kind of forget, and then you have a son, you bring him into this world, and I mean, you're responsible for him now. Just life changes very quickly, and it motivates you a lot, for sure.
That's huge. Yeah, and haven't seen you, hold and play with the little guy when you were here in Denver
Yeah,
playing against the Rockies was awesome for me to see. It took me back to when my three were that age as well, which is it's such a unique time.
yeah, yes, it is, especially when he cuts two teeth and
That's
he
right.
wakes up every 2 hours.
Yeah, for those of you who don't know, we tried to do this interview like a couple of days ago, and he's like, "I didn't sleep at all. Can we move it?"
Yeah, it
The
was
cutting teeth stage
yeah,
while
but
trying to work.
it's worth it. It's worth it, man.
You bet.
It's yeah, wouldn't change it for anything.
For those out there who are listening, who might be like kind of younger years and starting to develop as baseball players, stuff like that. Um, what advice would you give them as they're kind of preparing for kind of what's coming for them?
But honestly, just have fun, enjoy it. I look back on like some times when I was in college at UCF, or when I was in the minor leagues, and just looking back and how I looked at it too much as a business. And this might, this is for people who may be a little older.
Sure.
But honestly, now the way that the baseball, or all the travel ball and everything that people are doing now, and that are, you know they're making it too much like a job, and I was making it too much like a job. And I forget how much that I love playing this game. And when I had those two surgeries, I missed it so much. I missed being on the mound. I missed competing, and that was the one thing for me that I think competing was the one thing. But um, just have fun with it's a game still. I know that people are out there trying to like do what I'm doing, make a living out of it. I got free schooling out of it. Um, Baseball has been so good to me. Um, and I know there's a lot of people that are out there trying to do the same, but it's still a game. It's still something that you should enjoy. It's something that you shouldn't um, make your job. And if you don't make it as a baseball player, then there's always something else that you're gonna somebody else out there is going to enjoy, that you're going to have a great job somewhere else. Like, I mean, I know you can say the same thing, Matt. I know that you didn't make it all the way, and look at, you know, the things that you're doing now, the lives that you're impacting right now. So I think people shouldn't make baseball as a job. Just enjoy it.
I think that's so powerful. Just, you know, I think about what I do now, and like what I do is fun. Like
Yeah.
I love it. It was funny. I woke up 2 days ago, and I was like, man, I feel like I need like a little break and stuff.
Yeah.
But then within an instant, I'm automatically thinking, but like, why would I want a break, right? I know things are busy, but it's when you're having fun with what you're doing. I mean, and you have that perspective going into it.
Yeah.
The mundane tasks, which everyone has, right? I have in my job, and I wish I could say that I just 100% do everything I love every day, all day long, right? Like,
Yeah.
never anything I don't like to do. But there are those things, but it's that perspective shift of like, I'm going to have fun with this no matter what, right? Because look what it allows me to do. Look at the opportunities it's opening up for me.
Absolutely.
And I think that's such a huge perspective. Whether you're running a business, throwing a baseball, playing with your kids, I want to have fun. Like, I want to have fun with this.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And it's so simple. I mean, it's really like, okay, I'll have fun,
Right.
But when you break it down, it's really, really easy. That's all it comes down to.
That's exactly right. No, you're bang on, man. Yeah. For those of you out there, look at life with a little bit of joy, or a lot of joy, and a lot of happiness and fun. And you know what? You'll find your passion and get to do it on a daily basis. I'm a testament to that.
No doubt.
That's incredible. You rock, man. I want to be aware of your time here. You got breakfast. It's probably getting cold right now.
No, I got oatmeal, so I'm good, man. So
okay.
You can eat it cold.
Oh, good. Jeez Louise. I feel like I gotta send you a microwave or something to heat it back up. My goodness.
Nah, not worth it.
But this has been great, Daniel. I can't thank you enough for taking the time and talking the mental side and sharing your story and faith and adversity you faced and how you've kind of come through it and continue to do it today. So I can't thank you enough.
Dude, thank you for everything that you have done. I've told you this before, but I wouldn't be here without you. And I love being around, just talking to you and being around you, and your passion, everything. It drives me to be a better baseball player. So just to be a better person, honestly. So I hope that somebody can get something out of this. I hope we help somebody out, and that's basically the main goal right now.
Absolutely.
So
absolutely. No, you rock, man. And we'll be talking very soon.
Absolutely. I appreciate it, man. Thank you for having me.
Thanks, Daniel.